Did you know that your home can be full of germs, even after a thorough cleaning? So it is. There are places that almost everyone forgets to clean, and that's precisely where dirt accumulates silently. They seem harmless. They go unnoticed in everyday life, but they are there, hiding bacteria, bad smells, and even that appearance of a house that is always a bit snotty, you know? And the worst part, these forgotten corners could be sabotaging your entire cleaning process. Do you dedicate yourself, clean everything properly, and still feel like something is out of place? You can bet the problem lies in these 5 points that almost no one remembers to take care of. But today, I'm going to show you exactly where these invisible cleaning villains are, and best of all, how to solve them in a simple, practical way, and without wasting hours of your day. You'll be surprised by number 3. It's a place we use every day, but almost never clean properly. Curious? So stay with me until the end, because your house will never be the same after these revelations. Have you ever had that feeling that your house is clean, but it doesn't really feel clean? You look around, everything is seemingly in place. The floor is swept, the sink is empty, the beds are made, but still, there's something in the air that bothers you. A strange smell, a dust that insists on coming back, or that little corner that always seems a little sticky. And then comes the doubt. Is there something I'm missing? The truth is yes. We end up forgetting to clean some areas of the house that are real hiding places for germs, places that we use every day, but that rarely get cleaned. And do you know what the problem with that is? Even after hours of cleaning, these dirty spots are still there, spreading bacteria, causing odors, and compromising the entire feeling of cleanliness in the house. And look, this has nothing to do with a lack of effort, okay? Quite the opposite. Sometimes we're trying our hardest, but we simply don't know where the real villains are. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 most forgotten places in the house which are full of germs, and how to clean each one quickly and simply. And there is one tip in particular that will completely transform the way you approach everyday cleaning. It's something so obvious but so ignored that it could be right there in front of you, and you never thought about it. If you want a house that really be clean and not just look clean, stay with me until the end, because the last tip is, without a doubt, one of the most important. It can be the watershed between a house that is just okay and a house that makes you proud to enter. Take a deep breath and feel that truly clean air. Tip 1. Doorknobs and switches, the forgotten ones from daily touch. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times a day you touch a doorknob or a light switch? From the time we wake up until we go to sleep, there are dozens of touches in these parts of the house. The hand goes, the hand comes, turns on the light, opens the door, closes the door. Now imagine, how many times a week do you clean these surfaces? Once? None? Well, you're not alone. These areas go completely unnoticed in the cleaning routine. We focus on the floor, the countertops, the mirrors, and forget that exactly where we put our hands most often is where germs secretly accumulate, and the result, we spread bacteria throughout the house without even realizing it. Not to mention that depending on the material, the dirt creates a sticky film over time, leaving an unpleasant touch and an ugly, worn appearance. But don't worry, because solving this is easier than it seems. The practical tip is to create a weekly mini habit. Every time you clean the bathroom or kitchen, for example, take the opportunity and wipe the door handles and nearby switches with a damp cloth with disinfectant. A spray bottle with 70% alcohol or a homemade mixture of vinegar with a few drops of neutral detergent also works very well. With a clean cloth, go over all the door handles, including those inside the bedrooms, and also every switch in the house. Do this with gentle movements, without getting wet, so as not to risk damaging the electrical part. Want a real example? A follower told me that her son suffered from minor allergies and sneezing in the morning. After one simple change, regularly cleaning switches and doorknobs, especially in his room, his symptoms dramatically decreased. Coincidence? It might even be. But the fact is, cleaning these areas reduces the proliferation of mites, viruses, and bacteria that pass from hand to hand. The direct benefit of this action is immediate. You feel the difference in touch, appearance, and most importantly, in the general hygiene of the house. It is a detail that conveys care, attention, and that really makes a difference in the final cleaning result. What's more, this is one of those small attitudes that show how much you care about your family's health. Don't underestimate the power of small dots. The doorknob you clean today is the touch of tranquility you offer to those who live with you tomorrow. Tip 2. Remote control, the invisible villain in the room. You're there, on the couch, ready to relax, turn on the TV, change channels, increase the volume, all using the remote control. Now think, how many hands touch it throughout the week? Yours, the children's, sometimes even visitors. Hand that just ate, that came out of the bathroom, that touched the cell phone. And after all that, does anyone clean the controller? In most homes, no. The remote control is one of the most forgotten objects in household cleaning, and one of the ones that accumulate the most germs. It lives in contact with your hands, is full of hard-to-reach corners, and is usually left on the sofa, bed, or any surface that is not clean. And what's worse, if you have the habit of eating while watching TV, the fat and food residues go straight there. This creates a perfect environment for the accumulation of dirt, bacteria, and even dust mites. The solution here is practical and quick, but requires a little care. Once a week, take 2 minutes to clean the remote control. First, remove the batteries for safety. Then use a soft cloth slightly moistened with isopropyl alcohol, the one specifically for electronics. Go over the entire surface of the control, including between the buttons. If there is a buildup of dirt, use a cotton swab with alcohol to reach the corners. Avoid soaking to avoid damaging the device. Want an extra tip? If the control is shared by children, or if someone in the house has the flu, it is worth doing this cleaning more frequently, even daily during the period of illness. You will be protecting not only your home, but everyone's health. And look, there was a follower who told me that her son lived with bouts of rhinitis. One day she decided to do a more detailed cleaning and cleaned the remote control for the first time in months. What she found was shocking, a layer of dirt between the buttons. After he started cleaning it frequently, he noticed an improvement in his son's well-being, and even in the smell of the room, which seemed a little stuffy before that. The direct benefit, a healthier environment, free from hidden microorganisms, and that feeling of everything in order that starts with the details. The remote control may be small, but when it's clean, it makes a huge difference, especially in the comfort and safety of your home. Tip 3. Skirting boards, the dust that no one sees, but everyone feels. Have you ever noticed that, even after cleaning the floor, the house still has that dusty look? You sweep, mop, clean the furniture, and still feel that the environment is not completely clean. Well, the culprit could be right at your feet, literally. The baseboards, they are there, all around the house, and that's why they accumulate more dirt than we imagine. Dust, hair, animal hair, cobwebs, and even spills of cleaning products or grease from the kitchen are deposited in these discrete corners. And the problem is that most people simply ignore the baseboard when cleaning. After all, it's not a direct contact area, right? Wrong. Even if you don't touch them, the dirt accumulated there interferes with the air quality, the feeling of visual cleanliness, and even the respiratory health of those who live in the house. The tip here is to include the baseboards in your heavy cleaning routine and do light maintenance between cleanings. Once a week, using a vacuum cleaner with a fine nozzle or even a small broom, remove surface dust, then wipe with a damp cloth with neutral detergent or a multi-purpose detergent of your choice. If the baseboards are made of wood, choose a specific product for this type of material, avoiding excess moisture. The important thing is to go over their entire length, paying attention to corners and junctions with the floor or walls. In a real situation, a follower told me that during end-of-year cleaning, she decided to pay special attention to her baseboards, something she never did. And what she found was surprising. In addition to thick dust, there were grease stains on the wall next to the kitchen and mold in the dampest corners. She realized that this could be contributing to the bad smell she smelled in the hallway, which no amount of aromatization could cover. After this cleaning, not only did the smell disappear, but the house became visibly brighter and lighter. The biggest benefit of taking care of your baseboards an environment that actually looks clean, and it is. They are the frame of the floor, and when they are dirty, they create that feeling of an unkempt house, even when everything else is spotless. By cleaning the baseboards, you eliminate hidden dust that spreads back into the air, improves residents' breathing, and gives the cleaning an excellent finish. Footers are like the details of a painting. Alone, they look small, but when they are clean, they take the beauty of your home to another level. Tip 4. Cabinet handles. The invisible grease of everyday life. The kitchen is, without a doubt, one of the busiest rooms in the house. We go in, out, prepare food, store supplies, open and close doors all the time. And in the midst of all this, there is one part that is constantly being touched, but is rarely cleaned: the cabinet handles. These little contact points accumulate more grease and dirt than you might think. Every time you handle oil, cut meat, pick up seasoning, or even handle fresh foods, your hands carry residue, and without thinking twice, you open the closet, drawer, or pantry door. The result? An invisible layer, or not so much, of grease and dust that accumulates day after day. Over time, these handles become greasy, darkened, and even sticky to the touch. And even if the kitchen is clean in general, this detail gives an impression of sloppiness. Furthermore, it is a critical point for the proliferation of bacteria, as fat easily retains dirt and moisture. The solution is simple, but needs to be done frequently. The ideal is to include handles in your weekly kitchen cleaning. All you need is a damp cloth with degreasing detergent, or a homemade mixture of white vinegar with a few drops of detergent, and a few minutes of attention. Apply the product to the cloth, not directly on the handle, and clean all the handles well, especially those that are most frequently used, such as those on the spice cabinet, the cutlery drawer, and the sink door. For handles with grooves or details, use an old toothbrush to reach the smaller parts. In kitchens with many cabinets, you can rotate them, half one week, the other half the next. This way you don't overload your routine, but keep everything up to date. A follower told me that she thought her kitchen cabinets were a bit yellowish, even though they were white. When he started cleaning the handles weekly, he noticed that the original tone returned. The grease accumulated was so much that it had already started to change the color around the handle, not to mention the fresher smell that left the room. The direct benefit is clear: a kitchen that looks new with a cleaner appearance and a fresh feeling, and of course much more effective hygiene, because cleaning only what appears is easy. The difference is in taking care of the details, and the handles are exactly that, a detail that changes everything. Tip 5. Toothbrush holders, a haven for bacteria. Now tell me something. You wash your toothbrushes often, right? But what about the place where they are? The toothbrush holder? If you've never thought about this, don't worry. You're not alone. This is one of the most forgotten items when cleaning the house, even though it is directly linked to our personal hygiene. The toothbrush holder is usually located in a humid environment, such as the bathroom, and receives splashes from the sink, mouthwash, and even the toilet flush, if it is nearby. Now imagine all of this added to the water that drips from the brushes and accumulates at the bottom of the container. The result? A perfect moisture reservoir for the proliferation of germs, fungi, and bacteria. And it happens right there, next to the toothbrush that goes straight into your mouth every day. Scary, right? And what's worse, this accumulation can cause bad smells in the bathroom, dark stains on the support, and in some cases, even indirect oral contamination, especially in children and the elderly who have the most sensitive immunity. To resolve this, there is no secret. Once a week, take 5 minutes to completely sanitize the toothbrush holder. If it is made of plastic or acrylic, remove all the brushes, empty the container, and wash with hot water and neutral detergent. Scrub the bottom well with a brush or sponge. If there is mold or dark stains, soak the holder for 10 to 15 minutes in a mixture of water and a little bleach. Then rinse well and let it dry completely before replacing the brushes. For those who use wall mounts or those with a lid, the same rule applies. Clean all external and internal parts, especially those that come into contact with the brushes. And be careful. Avoid storing the brushes while they are still wet. Ideally, they should be in an airy place, with space between them without touching each other. One follower shared that after years of not cleaning her toothbrush holder, she was shocked to see how much gunk it had accumulated at the bottom. She only noticed because her son's toothbrush started to smell bad, even though it was new. Once you started doing this cleaning weekly, this type of problem never happened again. The direct benefit? A more hygienic bathroom, free from strange odors, and most importantly, real protection for your oral health. After all, there's no point in taking care of your toothbrush if the place where it lives is completely dirty. It is these invisible details that make all the difference in deep and conscious cleaning of a home. Tip 6. Entrance mat. The first to get dirty, the last to be cleaned. You get home, walk in with your shoes on, walk across the doormat, and you don't even think twice. It is there, apparently just to decorate or dry the foot, but in reality, it is a real deposit of dirt. The entrance carpet is often the first contact we have with the interior of the house, and also the first place where external dirt accumulates. Now stop to think, how many times a week do you step on that carpet, and how often is it cleaned? In many homes, the answer is never, or once a month, when I remember. But this forgetfulness could be compromising the entire cleanliness of your home. All the dirt from the street, dust, leaf debris, pollution, microorganisms, even residues of animal feces that remain on the sidewalks. All of this ends up on the soles of your shoes, and when we enter the house and step on the carpet, this dirt gets lodged there. Even if you take off your shoes right after, the mat has already done its job. It absorbs what was underneath your foot, and without correct cleaning, it becomes a point of constant contamination. Ideally, the entrance mat should be shaken daily, if possible at the end of the day, especially if you or someone in the house entered wearing shoes. Once a week, vacuum the carpet well on both sides, and if it is washable, add soap and water and let it dry completely in the sun. The sun is also great for killing fungi and bacteria. If it is a carpet made of material that cannot get wet, use a damp cloth with a good disinfectant, or even a spray bottle with white vinegar, which helps neutralize odors and fight microorganisms. Want a real example? A follower told me that after months without washing the front door carpet, she noticed that the living room had that strange, wet dog smell, even without having pets at home. One day he washed the carpet and discovered the source of the smell. It was him. Since then, she has included this task in her routine, and the difference in the air in the house was immediate. The direct benefit of taking care of your entrance rug? More than aesthetics, it is a protection barrier. A clean carpet prevents external dirt from spreading throughout the house and contributes to a healthier environment, especially for those who have children who play on the floor or people with respiratory allergies. And of course, it leaves that first impression of a well-kept home right at the entrance. Cleaning starts from the outside in, and the carpet, which seems like just a detail, can be the beginning of a real transformation in the care of your home. Tip 7. Refrigerator handles. The dirtiest touch point in the kitchen. The refrigerator is, without a doubt, one of the most used appliances in the house. We open and close several times a day, whether to get water, store food, prepare meals, and all of this with our hands, which are often still dirty or greasy. Now tell me, when was the last time you cleaned your refrigerator handles? This is a direct, constant, and extremely overlooked point of contact. Handles accumulate grease, food debris, hand sweat, and bacteria. And the most curious thing is that as it is dirt that builds up little by little, we simply don't notice it. The appearance of the handle subtly darkens, becomes somewhat sticky, and yet goes unnoticed during everyday cleaning. But behind this is a high risk of cross-contamination, especially if you open the refrigerator in the middle of preparing food, with your hand dirty with raw meat, for example. The way to resolve it is quick and efficient. At least twice a week, include refrigerator handles in your kitchen cleaning routine. Use a cloth with 70% alcohol, which disinfects and removes grease at the same time. If the handle is more greasy, a mixture of vinegar and neutral detergent will also do the trick. Go well around the handle, the sides, and even the rubber near the door opening, where dirt and moisture also accumulate. For more stubborn dirt, use a soft bristled brush or even an old toothbrush. Just be careful with stainless steel handles, which scratch easily. In this case, choose microfiber cloths and products designed for stainless steel, and whenever possible, dry well after cleaning to avoid marks and oxidation. I'll tell you a real case. A follower told me that she thought her refrigerator was old and was even thinking about changing it. But one day, he decided to do a detailed cleaning, and when he rubbed the handles, he realized that they were just filthy. After cleaning, the appearance of the refrigerator completely changed. It shone. She was so surprised that she even made a point of sending a before and after photo. The direct benefit of taking care of your refrigerator handles goes beyond aesthetics. We are talking about hygiene, health, and food safety. A small gesture that prevents the accumulation of bacteria in one of the most sensitive places in the house. Because if the refrigerator door is dirty, imagine what ends up inside it. It's that detail that no one sees, but that, when cleaned, transforms the environment and shows that someone lives there who really takes care of their home with attention. Tip 8. Window tracks and sliding doors. The hiding place for thick dirt. If you have one place that you can go months, sometimes even years, without seeing a cloth, it's the trail of windows and sliding doors. You know that narrow corner where the window slides, full of curves and holes? Well, there lives one of the biggest accumulations of thick dust in the house. These rails, because they are difficult to reach and visually discreet, end up being ignored in daily cleaning. But over time, they accumulate a dangerous combination: dust, hair, lint, sand, mold, and even dead bugs. In addition to being a nest for bacteria and fungi, this dirt also interferes with the functioning of the window or door, causing it to creak, jam, or even damage the track. And how to clean it? First, remove coarse dirt with a fine nozzle vacuum cleaner. If you don't have one, use an old brush or toothbrush to loosen accumulated dust and then vacuum or sweep carefully. Then, use a damp cloth with neutral detergent or disinfectant wrapped around a knife or spatula to reach the most difficult corners. A good tip is to use cotton swabs for curves and smaller corners. If the buildup is very heavy, it's worth spraying some hot water with vinegar before starting. This helps to soften the dirt. The direct benefit is enormous. You improve the air in the house, avoid mold outbreaks, and even preserve the structure of windows and sliding doors. And, let's be honest, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing that trail shining after years of being hidden by dust. Remember, the real cleaning happens when you clean where no one notices, but it makes all the difference. Tip 9. Bathroom drain. The buildup no one wants to see. We clean the toilet, the shower, the mirror, even the floor, but the bathroom drain? Most people only pay attention to this when it starts to clog or give off that unpleasant smell. But the problem is precisely this. When the drain shows that it is dirty, it is because it is past time to clean it. The drain is the outlet for water, but it is also one of the points where heavy dirt accumulates most inside the bathroom. Hair, soap residue, product residue, dead skin, body fat, everything ends up there. And over time, this mixture forms a viscous crust that sticks to the internal walls of the drain and attracts fungi, bacteria, and even larvae in more serious cases. In addition to the smell, this accumulation can cause mold, humidity on the walls, and compromise water drainage. And the worst thing is that in the rush of everyday life, we only notice when the bathroom has a strong smell, the water in the shower starts to pool, or even when insects appear. The good news is that keeping your drain clean can be simpler than you think. Once a week, carefully remove the cap and use a brush or tweezers to remove accumulated hair. Wear gloves if you prefer. Then pour hot water down the drain to soften residue, and then pour a solution with white vinegar and baking soda. The reaction between the two will help loosen stuck-on dirt. Wait for a few minutes and finish with more hot water. For heavier cleaning, or if the smell persists, use a drain-specific disinfectant or bactericidal cleaner. And if possible, always keep the cap in place to prevent objects from falling and dirt from being exposed. The benefit of keeping your bathroom drain clean goes beyond aesthetics. It's a question of health, well-being, and also economics. Clean drains prevent expensive blockages, improve the smell of the environment, and keep the water flow running smoothly. And most importantly, they prevent the proliferation of microorganisms that can spread throughout the bathroom, including toothbrushes, towels, and personal hygiene items. Sometimes, what's compromising the cleanliness of your bathroom isn't what you see, but what you avoid looking at. Tip 10. Lamps and lamps. The silent dust that weighs the air. Now tell me something. When you clean, do you clean the lamp in the room or the living room lamp, that cute dome or the ceiling light? If the answer is no, know that you are among the majority. This is one of the most ignored items when cleaning the house, and at the same time, one of the items that accumulates the most fine, invisible dust. These objects are located in high points or are considered decorative, which is why they rarely enter the cleaning routine. But the dust that accumulates there has a real impact. Over time, it begins to circulate around the room every time you turn on the fan, open a window, or even when you turn on the light, depending on the type of lamp. And this directly affects the quality of the air you breathe. Furthermore, lamps with fabric shades accumulate dust mites and can even alter the lighting in the room. The dirt creates an opaque layer that reduces the intensity of the light, leaving the room looking duller, dustier, even sadder. The solution? It's simpler than it seems. Every 15 days, include lamps and lamps in your cleaning. In the case of fabric ones, use a clothes brush or an adhesive roller to remove dust. If you have more time, wipe it with a dry cloth first and then a slightly damp one, being careful not to get it wet. For plastic or glass cases, remove dust with a dry cloth and then clean with a multi-purpose product or a mixture of alcohol and water. If they are ceiling lights, use a safe ladder, and if possible, turn off the power before cleaning areas near the lights. For those who suffer from rhinitis or respiratory allergies, this tip is especially important. The accumulation of dust in lamps is silent but constant and can be one of the reasons for nighttime crises or that mild malaise that appears without explanation. Furthermore, cleaning these items adds an incredible visual touch to the room. A clean lampshade enhances the decoration, highlights the surrounding objects, and conveys that feeling of care in the smallest details. You will be surprised by the difference in lighting and lightness of the environment after this cleaning. Because at the end of the day, what makes a house look really clean isn't just tidy furniture or shiny floors. It's the details, even in the light. Did you see how small details can make a huge difference in the cleaning of your home? Throughout this video, you discovered that it's not always the visible clutter that's ruining the look and smell of your home. Sometimes, it is precisely the most ignored places, the little corners that we don't even notice on a daily basis, that accumulate the most dirt, the most germs, and compromise the entire feeling of a clean home. We talk about doorknobs, controls, handles, baseboards, drains, and many other points that, although small, are fundamental. Now you have in your hands the knowledge that transforms. These are simple, quick, and often even pleasurable actions to do. Just add them to your routine lightly without overloading yourself. And most importantly, each of these attitudes represents care with your home, with your health, with your family. Because a well-maintained home is not a perfect home. It is a home that receives attention, love, and intention in the details. Now I invite you to look around. What part of your home have you been missing? Which of these tips will you put into practice first? Tell me here in the comments. And if you have other ideas for forgotten places that you always clean, share them too. It could be the tip that will help someone else transform their home. And if this content helped you in any way, like the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next ones. Here, every week, you will find real, practical, and motivating tips to make your home increasingly clean, organized, and full of good energy. Remember, real cleaning doesn't just start with products, it starts with your eyes, the attentive look of someone who loves taking care of the place where they live.